Hello, Sir Family. Our team, Badag Group, will now present and update you on our progress so far on the game. So, as you know, our game is a card game, and so far in Unity uh, we've already made made it so that the cards can be viewed, and we already have a board. So um, these cards we have we don't actually do any polish to them because this is just a vertical slice, and uh, what's contained in these cards are just essentials like the name of the card, the price, the cost of the card to play the card, and uh, a, sim- a simple text box that details the effects of the cards. My friend NJ will now explain deeper on how it works.
So for the Unity progress so far, we have created like a button where you can draw the player's card. This is the example card. We will update again in the future for the next progress. For now, we're just showing the spell name and also the resource needed, but we haven't really implemented the game logic. But we can already drag cards and then put them in the drop zone. So for updates we would add is I would later separate the player 1 and player 2 drop zones, like so they both have different card drop zones. And then we will probably add more prefab game objects for each spell because our plan for the card spawner mechanic is the server will send like a list of array that contains the card ID, and then through this ID we will later instantiate the game object. And
Furthermore, the drop zone for these cards will in the future act as activators to play the card and not just put the cards somewhere in the middle. So when you put it on the drop zone, you will automatically play the card, and the effect of the card will then take place. We will
and then
also work on hiding the enemy cards, unlike this one because this is still in development, and
oh
probably
yeah,
also uh, add cards to the hand when new cards are drawn by effects such as card draw effects.
and we will add UI for the resource system. This is the elements, the fire, wind, and earth counter, so the player can know how much of those cards they have in hand. And then we'll try to find a way to communicate with the database, like for the Unity client to communicate to the database in order to update the game state. Now we move to the database site, Nick.
Moving on to the database, we have implemented um, a few tables in the database. Mainly, we got the game room, we got the player, and then we got the cards. Uh, so the
And
game room is for storing, well, the game room in which uh, players will be connected to, and then they will start to play the game. The players will contain stats of the players, the current stats of the players who are playing, like the health buffs, debuffs, and other informations. And the card table details what cards exist in the game. Now Nico will further explain the details of the database.
Okay, so as Patrino mentioned before, we have three tables in place in the database. The first one, as Reno said, will be containing which players are connected for that one particular game. So it has the ID and then which players are connected, which basically links the game room to the player row, and then it will also display the status of the game. Is it still playing? Is it done? And who has won the game? So we can keep track of how many wins. And then again, the player, it will contain all the HP, the buffs and debuffs. If you look here, it contains everything from the game it's currently in, the health, and then all the resources it has, the hand. It also has the deck spell and the deck element, which is the order of the cards that they have for their deck. which is
How,
randomly generated, and also
uh,
has buffs and debuffs.
yeah, an important note here is can you open that again, Nick? An important thing to note here is that we plan to not reveal these things to the client when the game will run. The Especially the deck spell and the deck element, because if we do send these information to the client, it may be susceptible to uh, some form of cheating, in which the client could potentially see what the next cards in their decks are.
Yeah, so the way we try to go around that problem is to only give maybe a certain number of cards at a time, or maybe only when the card is drawn. So the game will ask the server what's the next card it has. And then the card just contains the information for every available card. So we see here we currently have 15 cards pre-made for the game, with all the damage, the burn slow, and all these other stats which can be used in the game logic. And so what's gonna be the next step for the database and the server? Of course, we will have to run the game logic first. We'll try to run it with API and everything, try to get it work, and and then we'll try to connect it with the game. And also one more thing, we might also have to add another table, which is the list of cards played. So for the
So it
games,
acts like a history.
yeah, so we can show the player what cards are used against them instead of only showing what cards are they using against the other player. So yeah, that's it for the backend side.
Okay, that is for the update on our final project so far. Thank you for listening.